West Asia is on the boil. Missiles and drones are wreaking havoc across the region. Even as US President Donald Trump has described the strikes on Iran as an excursion, the reality is unpleasant. He's being punished by the hidden cost of this war. If we look at West Asia, United States has had a considerable military presence there even before this war built up. Towards the west of Iran, it has multiple bases in countries such as Turkey, Jordan, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, as well as Qatar. The U.S. military prowess got a major boost by the arrival of the USS Abraham Lincoln and the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier strikes groups. However, drone and missile strikes by Iran have come as a big jolt to the U.S., with at least 11 of its bases suffering damage to buildings and communication infrastructure. For instance, on the very first day of the war, Tehran targeted Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, which is, remember, the largest American base in the region. Apart from this, Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia and Ali Al Salem Air Base and Camp Buehring Base in Kuwait were all struck. Subsequently, other prominent U.S. bases like UAE's Al Dhafra, Jordan's Muwafaq, Salti, and U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain also came under attack. Now, this is not all. Iran has claimed to have destroyed multiple expensive radar and communication systems as well, such as the THAAD, stationed across West Asia. This comes as a setback, as U.S. was using them to track and intercept aerial threats. Now, how much is this war really costing American taxpayers? During a congressional briefing this week, the Trump administration officials reportedly disclosed that the U.S. spent at least $11.3 billion in the first 6 days of the war itself. Now, this is a conservative estimate at best because it does not include all expenses such as the cost of operating and maintaining forces that are engaged in the war and damage sustained from the Iranian attacks. Earlier, remember, it had emerged that $5.6 billion was spent only on munitions during the first 2 days of the strikes. But this is not all. The human cost of this war for U.S. cannot be understated. Remember, while Pentagon revealed that 7 of its military personnel have died so far, the situation appears to be more grave. As per reports, more than 30 U.S. military members have been hospitalized after an attack on its Kuwaiti base. They sustained serious injuries, including traumatic brain injuries, shrapnel wounds, and burns. On record, the U.S. has acknowledged that about 140 of its military personnel have been injured, out of which 108 have already resumed duty. But beyond monetary and military losses, there is something much bigger that Pentagon has lost out on. It is the credibility factor. Discontent has been rife among its West Asian allies, who were allegedly not given adequate time to prepare for the torrent of Iranian drones and missiles unleashed on them. There's also perceived to be a sentiment among the Gulf nations that U.S. military hasn't defended them enough. In fact, even Europe has focused on bolstering its own defense rather than joining in the war effort. Spain has openly opposed this war and refused to allow America to use its bases to attack Iran. The country also, remember, has pulled out its ambassador from Israel in protest against this West Asia war. U.S. has also alienated Pakistan, which had forged close ties with Trump since last year. But after the assassination of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Pakistan has been rocked by massive anti-U.S. protests within its territory, in which over 23 people have been killed. Islamabad has been caught in a bind, as its ally Saudi Arabia is facing attacks from Iran. Meanwhile, is Trump planning to cancel the elections altogether that are coming up in November? Well, a passing comment made by him last year has resurfaced once again, raising serious concerns about the fate of American democracy. While meeting Zelensky in August 2025, remember, Trump had expressed agreement with the scenario that elections should not be held during wartime.
You say during the war you can't have elections. So let me just say 3.5 years from now, so you mean if we happen to be in a war with somebody, no more elections. Oh, that's good.
Now, this scenario is unfathomable for America, as elections were held here even during the Civil War, the World Wars, and the Vietnam War. But the threat is real, as U.S. President has publicly hinted at the possibility of doing away with the elections over his worry of losing these upcoming midterms. Now, even as Trump is seeking a face-saver to exit this war at the earliest, it is apparent that America will take a long time to handle the repercussions of this war. West Asia has been facing the brunt of Iran's retaliatory attacks. U.S. bases, airports, oil facilities, hotels, and even residential buildings have not been spared. This has now propelled a rush among Gulf magnates to build bunkers. Earlier, explosions were heard in downtown Dubai. A pall of smoke hovered over the skyline as Iran claimed to have struck a tower with a precision-guided drone. While this caused a small fire in this building and damaged the facade, local authorities attributed this incident to falling debris from an intercepted drone. Iran continues to target energy infrastructure. In the early hours of the morning, a huge blaze raged in Bahrain's Muharraq region as Tehran attacked fuel tanks at a facility. Now, in the wake of such attacks, the Atlas Survivor Shelters, one of the world's key manufacturers of underground bomb shelters, has been inundated with requests from rich clients based in Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, and the UAE. This US-based firm offers a basic model costing around $25,000 US to a large bunker that can sustain people for up to 2 years.
I have a few types of shelters, starting with like our $25,000 backyard bunker, which is only for 4 people, but it's designed to keep a family of 4 alive for up to 7 days. Okay, then you advance to a little larger shelter, which is designed to keep a family alive for at least 30 days minimum. And then you get into our larger bunkers that can cost millions of dollars.
Now, these bunkers are usually built 2 to 3 meters underground and claim to provide protection from bomb blasts, radiation, and artillery fire. Now, can people survive in these shelters for so long? Well, they tend to resemble a flat with stocked food and water, a bedroom, a living room with television, kitchen, laundry area, and a bathroom. They're all in there. The facility is also connected to a power source and can store as well as filter water. This is not an isolated scenario. Remember, reports have suggested that thousands of residents and tourists have fled Dubai since the beginning of the Iran war. It matters as over 90% of Dubai's residents are estimated to be foreigners, including a high number of billionaires. Animal charities have also flagged how many pets have been left behind by people leaving because of this war. While 13 UNSC members adopted a resolution demanding Iran end its attacks on Gulf countries, Iran's intent to punish any country that is aiding American and Israeli attacks implies that tensions are unlikely to cool down anytime soon. Ever since the war with Iran began, the Donald Trump administration has been using sharp and at times chest-thumping rhetoric in its public briefings. From speeches to Pentagon podiums, the message has been delivered with a heavy dose of psychological boasting, projecting strength while taunting an adversary in West Asia. Trump even joked about the sinking of the Iranian ships. The words of Team Trump are drawing attention for their tone as much as their message. Take a look.
For Donald Trump, even naming the war sounds casual. The president says he picked epic fury from a list of options for the attack on Iran. This is also the same president who also remarked that his general said it was good to watch Iranian ships sink.
But they gave me a list of names of generals. Sir, you can pick the name you'd like, sir. I said, the name of what? The name of the attack on Iran, sir. And they gave me like 20 names. and I'm like falling asleep. I didn't like any of them. Then I see Epic Fury. I said, I like that name. I like that name.
At the Pentagon, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth strikes a confident boast, claiming that Washington is winning the war with brutal force.
Our will is endless. Ultimately, the president gets to determine the end state of those objectives, right? But what he's said continually, and I want the American people to understand, is this is not endless. It's not protracted. We're not allowing mission creep. The president has set a very specific mission to accomplish, and our job is to unrelentingly deliver that. Now, he gets to control the throttle. He's the one deciding. He's the one elected on behalf of the American people.
And at the White House, Trump's press secretary puts the message in even starker terms. A regime crushed, enemies paying in blood, leaders wiped off the face of the earth.
The president's words are backed up by the mightiest warriors in the world who possess the most sophisticated capabilities this world has ever known. 49 and counting of the most senior Iranian regime leaders, including the supreme leader, have already been wiped off the face of the earth. Make no mistake, killing these brutal terrorists is good for America and makes the world a much safer place.
With the death toll rising across West Asia, Team Trump has opened a new front where Washington's psychological war drums are getting louder. Bureau Report, WION World is One.